So hello, everyone. As you may know, or this may be the first time you have seen me, my name is Camille Kirksey. I'm the founder of World Homeschoolers Day. And today I am so honored to have our featured author from our book fair, Sean Browne. He is a children's book author, and he is motivated to educate and inspire children and families while fulfilling his mission of opening the consciousness of humanity through entertainment and science. So that is a big mission, but it's one that is absolutely worth doing. I want to welcome Sean. Hi, Sean. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Well, let's get started with the interview. Can you tell us about the Very Loving Caterpillar and why you chose a caterpillar as the main character of your book?
Yeah, so the Very Loving Caterpillar is, the new official climate change children's book. It's about a compassionate caterpillar who has to save his friends and family from the environment that, it changed up on them. So they kind of going through some troubles with the environment right now. So he has to save them from the new environment that isn't really beneficial to their lives.
Absolutely. So why did you choose a caterpillar as your character?
Yeah, well, that was just an idea. It came to me, how ideas just pop in to your field, your mind. And it's just a bunch of different things I've been researching over the last 10, 12 years. It's just science, getting more interested in researching science topics I've been hearing about. And also the Eastern spiritualities. I also started researching more of those. So I think both of those things, the science and the spirituality, just came together and brought this idea to me. Also because when I was younger, I was always outside playing, in nature, and there were always butterflies in the yard, so I would try to catch them, and of course let the caterpillars crawl on my arm or leg or finger or whatever. And so I was always fascinated with butterflies and caterpillars, and hearing that, the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, I never really saw that metamorphosis taking place. I never got to see the actual chrysalis or cocoon, some people might call it. So that kind of just left my mind wondering about it, and I guess that just stuck with me over the years. And as I got to learn more about the science and spirituality stuff, I actually watched a documentary about butterflies. It was about monarch butterflies, which is, the American celebrity, the orange one, orange and black with the white dots. And that actually informed me, actually let me finally see the whole life cycle of the caterpillar and butterfly. And so some of that knowledge went into the actual book writing, and you'll see some of in the imageries, the illustrations. So yeah, that's why I think I chose the caterpillar, just because I was always fascinated by them, and it's actually the metaphor for, the spiritual transformation, the caterpillar transforming into a higher being, which it would be the butterfly. So that ties in with the spirituality concepts. People use that metaphor a lot, transformation. So
yeah,
that's why I think I did that.
Yeah, it makes sense. It is a perfect metaphor for what you're sharing in the book about the transformation of the environment, as well as the children and pretty much anybody who is reading it. So, yeah. So, what was really the inspiration behind the combination of topics that you put in the book?
Yeah, so that's, like I was saying, it's the learning about well, researching more of the spirituality that, you know, I heard about these things growing up, but, you know, you don't always get to learn about these things, especially if it's not taught in school or at home, or it's just not in, you know, easy access to you at the time. So these things are intriguing. I think they were always intriguing to me. And so when the internet, you know, the internet now, you can look up anything and get information by yourself. You don't have to ask for permission. So
Yep.
the ease of access and freedom to information allowed me to just delve more into all these topics: spirituality, science, just anything I was always interested in but didn't have the access to. I could now just look it up online and get some sort of satisfaction knowing I could read up on it and just learn more about it. And so that was the inspiration, was just learning the spirituality and hearing the metaphor be used quite often of the transformation, like the caterpillar transforming to the butterfly. Some people say, you know, that's like how we can, for the humans, that we could kind of use that metaphor as like humans transforming to our greater self or higher self, you know, like that. So, or so, like, it's like the ascension process that you hear about in, you know, spiritual circles, and even religion in a way talk about these transformations and ascensions. So that I think is the kind of the main thing I was going for with that, and just combining it with the actual caterpillar and butterfly. Just, you know, that's just the classical storyline up here with caterpillars and butterflies. So that, yeah, that's the inspiration. And of course, being in nature growing up, I was always, just at a young age, I would go outside and be quiet and just be under the guava tree and just be by myself, fiddling in the dirt, just looking at all the animals. Cows would be coming in the yard. Me and my mother would chase them out. So that was, you know, like a fun thing.
Yeah.
So just being with nature and the animals, it all just came together. So that's the inspiration.
Yeah, and with homeschooling, that's something that we really try to give to our kids, that access and that time and space to explore the things that they're curious about, no matter what it is. So with the internet, a lot of us adults finally get to do that. And then give back and give people, you know, some of the things that we're passionate about in book form, like it seems like you've done. So that's awesome. Speaking of your childhood, what was your favorite book growing up?
Yeah, that's a good question, because like early on, I didn't really read a lot because, you know, that's kind of, you know, like school and you just want to be playing. But of course, my parents always would give me like activity books and things just to stay sharp. But we did have a lot of books, just from like my older sister had like Sesame Street, the volumes, and I would look through those. But there was this one book I remember I actually did like, because I would go to it quite often. When I actually realized what it was actually talking about, I think it was called "It's Fun Finding Out How to Do Things." It was a sort of a general knowledge book, and it taught you a lot about different things. So I think, of course, my inquisitive mind liked that, because you get to learn about a lot of different things in life. So it was well-rounded. So I would say, I think that was like one of my favorites. And also, another one of my favorites was actually the encyclopedias, because we had the lexicon, the green encyclopedias. And I would always, there was no internet then, so, you know, the encyclopedia was the internet.
Exactly.
Because you could go there and look up pretty much anything you had a question about. So I actually did enjoy going into those, because I could find things that I was interested in, sort of like with the internet now. So yeah, the encyclopedias were also a favorite of mine.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty common. Anybody that's born pre-internet, We didn't have access like that. You had to either go to the library, or it seems like every family, or at least somebody on your street or near you, had encyclopedia set. It was pretty adorable. So we still had access, just in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah, enough satisfy the urge that you had to learn to know more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What do you think most books get wrong about teaching children compassion that your book gets right?
Yeah, this is another good question. Like, you have a lot of good questions.
Thank you. It's my job.
Yeah, no, whatever. So, well, I haven't actually read a lot of climate change children's books. I think now they're starting to come more and more, into the space. I've glimpsed some here and there, but I haven't really read them. But just from, just things I've glimpsed, I don't think, I can't say if they got anything wrong or right. I would have to actually read a lot more of them to actually see what they get wrong. But I know there are books about, nature and maybe insects from the past that aren't necessarily climate change and stuff books, that they may go like too much into the fantasy realm, which is good, because fantasy is how you intrigue people and get their mind thinking about things they're not really seeing right now in front of them in the present. But to me, I always like things that have some sort of realness to them, or some sort of real science. What they say is the actual science at the time. I like to see a mix of that, which is what I do, like mixing some real science facts with the fantasy. So I think that's the only little thing I've seen with some books, that it's not really real. They just, unless you don't fully know what the thing is about, you might not get it. It might be a little confusing later on, because it's not really telling the true story. It's partially telling the true story, but it's taking it way into the fantasy realm.
I think really good stories, whether they're kids' books or not, are always going to help somebody learn something. And with kids, it's obviously everyone wants to be entertained, but to hold their attention, they have to see some value. And I think one of the things that's different from what I can tell about your book is that you're trying to teach real core values and help them be better people right now. Because a lot of books are like, when you grow up, you can do this, and when you get older. But learning compassion and empathy and things that you're teaching as related to their environment, and helping them understand that they can not only become better, but they can help right now. That's something that's different, I would say, about what you're doing versus other books that I've seen.
Right. Just, because growing up, I was watching all the cartoons, and they were not really, a lot of those cartoons were not really real. Not really. But then as the computer animation and stuff started coming in, I realized, they are actually showing some real things in these animated films. And as soon as I realized that just triggered me, because I was like, I can put real things into this stuff, so that if you do watch it and then try it at home, as they always said, don't try this at home, because they knew they were showing you crazy things that you should not try at home. Like, if you put real things in there, like if you take it, you can actually take it and put it on like a test that you may have at school the next day, or it would be factual in a conversation that you have. So I want it to be, I'm not just watching nothing. I can actually regurgitate what I was watching and be correct.
Right.
Because when I was young, I would take these things kind of literally, like, they're showing me this, I'm thinking, oh, I can try this or do this or it's correct. But then you realize later on, no, it's not. None of it was really factual. So that's why now I make sure to put some factual things in there with the fantasy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you share a few things that homeschooling parents can do to teach their children about activating the heart chakra? That's something that you talk about in your book. So really about empathy and compassion and the power of transformation.
Yeah, this is another good question. Like, so yeah, thinking back to when I was young, like I was saying, I would always be outside by myself. I guess like now I know I was meditating because I was just there, by myself, not talking or anything, just being there basically. And that's what they call meditation now. So, or you can call it being mindful. You're just there being mindful or meditating. So I would say that's one. And then also being in nature again is another one, because when you're in nature you're sort of meditating anyway, because nature is just there. It just is. It's not necessarily trying to tell you to do one thing or the other. It can inspire certain things for life to occur, but nature is sort of quiet to the human ear. So being in nature as well just helps you just be present and open, and yeah. And then another one I would say is to just be around just other people that don't necessarily look like you. So, and I think this is also similar to being in nature, because nature does not necessarily look like us exactly to the human eye, even though we are all part of nature and the exact same thing. Just it just looks differently, but we're pretty much the same. So I think, yeah, that sort of ties in with being around just other people that don't look like you, or different cultures, traveling the world. Especially if you're in America, you gotta travel outside of America, because yeah, you will see, America is not the world, even though we think
Yeah.
this. So yeah, if you have to travel, because you will not even realize there's another whole world out there different from your own home. So as soon as you see the different things, the different worlds, that just puts a lot of things into perspective. And
Yeah.
just makes yeah.
That's a lot of what homeschooling is about, just the lifestyle of embracing mindfulness for sure, self-actualization, being in nature. We do a lot of nature type of stuff. And then moving towards the transformation of, coming from a child, moving into adulthood at your own pace. It's really important for kids to be able to do that. So yeah, those are all great things.
And yeah, and then for transformation, yeah, being in nature again, you witness the transformation daily, because
Right, seasonally.
with
Yeah.
plants, the plant is changing and growing. And if you like if you do the experiment in school where you germinate a bean or a seed in a cup, that's already showing you a transformation, because you see the seed and then something happening coming out of the seed, and then it's growing into a tree. It starts growing into a tree. That's a transformation. So nature just shows you these things automatically, because that's just nature and life.
Yeah.
It's a part of nature and life.
And you also brought up a good point about the diversity of nature, because we're all connected, but we're all different. And to observe other different species and other people, you learn a lot just by observation and participation. And with nature, you have to be in it to learn all that. It's infused in your experience. That's one of the things with the holiday, World Homeschoolers Day. We're raising awareness about diversity and inclusion with homeschoolers, because we're all coming from different spaces all over the world. The United States is very much centered in homeschooling, but homeschooling happens everywhere. So yeah, it's all aligned. Absolutely. Well, it looks like this is the end of our conversation. I don't have any more good questions for you, but I do want to open the floor. If anyone out there watching right now has any questions for Sean, please drop them in the comments. And while you do that, I am going to just remind everyone that our book fair is open. It is going through June 2nd, which is World Homeschoolers Day. Sean's book, The Very Loving Caterpillar, is on our virtual shelves over on Amazon. You can get there via the link in the bio here. And I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I'll wait a few more seconds to make sure we don't miss anybody. Sean, is there anything else you want to share with the audience while we wait to see if there's any questions for you? Looks like it's getting dark there pretty quick.
Yeah, I started setting now, so yeah, it's getting into twilight.
I see. Yeah, because you kind of disappeared on us. But that's okay. We can hear you just fine. It looks like it's no questions for you. If you do have questions, you can go in my direct message, or you can head over to the Very Loving Caterpillar here on Instagram. Sean is there, and as well as his book. So thanks again, Sean, for being here and for sharing your book with the audience, and for being a featured author in our first ever book fair for World Homeschoolers Day.
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, it looks like it says not a question, but letting Sean know that his sister tuned in. Hey, sister, your sister's on here.
Okay.
Support.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. You too, Sean, and I'll see you guys later.
Thanks.
All right.
All right. Thanks. You too.